Now, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON 4 News at 6.
Tonight at 6, a flash flood advisory has been issued for the North Bay. What is known as an atmospheric river is pounding the bay, and generally whenever a big storm hits, the North Bay bears the brunt of it. This is what it looked like in San Anselmo today as the rain continues to pour down.
We're also tracking the wet weather and the damage from the storm. You can see in the upper left, mudslides blocked both lanes of southbound Highway 17 over the Santa Cruz Mountains tonight. Right now, only one lane has since been reopened. Trees fell all over the Bay Area as they took a beating from the storm. That is video from the East Bay Lafayette in the upper right-hand corner with workers there. It's also caused the power to be knocked out in many areas across the Bay Area, especially in Marin and Sonoma counties. And of course, the weather has affected the commute. A live look in the lower right at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. Not much traffic, but it is very wet out there. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ken Wayne.
And I'm Pam Moore. Back to San Anselmo now, which is looking to avoid a repeat of 2005. You may remember, look at this video. This shows when the creek jumped its banks, inundating nearby businesses with water. KRON 4's Justine Waldman joins us live from San Anselmo tonight. She has the latest. Justine.
Well, the wind has picked up and the rain is pouring once again. It's been on and off all day. This is the strongest we felt in quite a while. The rain is actually coming sideways at the moment. This is one of the businesses that is really concerned about the creek right behind the store flooding. What this business owner did was clear out all the merchandise from the entire store, not just the window display, and put up this sign that says, "We are not closing, just being prepared in case of a flood." Businesses are concerned. They've put up this sort of boards along with sandbags in front to kind of divert the water away. They're concerned because if flooding happens again here, it would be devastating.
Cars pushed their way through flooded roads. The rain made driving difficult today. Wipers needed to be going at full blast to see the street.
The thing I notice when it rains is people don't really pay attention.
A wet day at work for this crossing guard who stood outside for hours to keep kids safe.
Not everybody knows what red means to stop.
The San Anselmo Creek looked angry as dark brown water rushed through around 2 in the afternoon. By 5 p.m., the water was noticeably higher. It is not at flood level yet, but eyes are on it because the creek is notorious for flooding, damaging the downtown business district. In response, some stores put sandbags out front to protect what's inside.
If you don't have sandbags, a good block on front of your door, the businesses, it could put you out of business for a number of months.
At Red Hill Shopping Center, homeowners scooped up free sandbags to keep their homes dry.
It's at 5 to 9. We have a flood warning. So yeah, if we can make it through that, I think we'll be fine.
Rain poured for most of the day, and yes, every drop counts.
I love it. We need it, and I love it. So I'm happy. But now I have to go drive in it.
Though when the weather gets so nasty, it cancels your plans, not everyone is pleased.
I do outside, and I like going outside, and so I can't really go swimming because it's really cold and rainy outside.
All right, so I wanted to get out from underneath that business's awning to really show you the rain coming down and how wet everyone is getting out here today. Marin County has opened up an emergency shelter at the Health and Wellness Center in San Rafael on Kerner Boulevard. That opens at 7 o'clock tonight. That will be a place that people are having difficulty in this wet weather can go to get some help. Power outages have been on and off. I got an alert on my phone about some power outages in Fairfax. But right now here, the concern in San Anselmo is that creek, and with all the rain that's coming down, eyes are on it to make sure that it doesn't flood. Live tonight in San Anselmo, I'm Justine Waldman, KRON 4 News.
Justine, thank you. We'll be checking back with you throughout the night. Let's take a look at the traffic at this hour around the Bay Area. Golden Gate Bridge, Bay Bridge, looking fine. A lot of traffic there on the San Mateo Bridge. People leaving the peninsula, heading toward Hayward, and some water on the lens at the Richmond Bridge, but everything seems to be moving, and that is the good news. Let's also check in with meteorologist Mabrisa Rodriguez. Mabrisa, there's a big, giant blob of yellow off the coast getting ready to move in, isn't there? there.
Yeah, a lot of yellow and green, and with that also lightning strikes right off the coast. So please stay off the roadways tonight because it's very dangerous driving conditions because of those slick roads and also gusty wind speeds as well. So if you don't need to be on the roads tonight, make sure to just stay at home. Have a nice night in. Watch KRON 4 News, of course. And here's our next round of wet weather right off the coast, starting to make its way inland, inching closer to downtown San Francisco. But we won't notice the bulk of that yellow making its way into most of the Bay Area until about another half hour to hour or so. So right now seeing some widespread light to moderate rain. And even for those of you in the South Bay tracking this one moderate cell right now, heavy downpours. And as it makes its way closer to San Jose, it's expected to get there at around 6:08 this evening. So watch out for heavy downpours there. Scattered showers still for most of you in the East Bay, but light to moderate and heavy rain right now in the North Bay. You are getting the bulk of this moisture, and you did see a flash flood warning in effect earlier today. That has since expired because of rain rates about 1/3 of an inch per hour, with more strong heavy downpours making its way tonight. I'm tracking this storm system hour by hour. My full forecast in just a few minutes. Pam and Ken, back to you.
Mabrisa, thank you. Well, as we mentioned, and as is always the case, the rain, of course, affecting the commute tonight.
Here's a live look at the traffic conditions around the Bay Area. You can see the red there on Interstate 80, the East Shore Freeway heading east toward Vacaville and Vallejo. And this is how it looks in the East Bay around Hayward and Pleasanton. And right about where that 580, 680 interchange is where we find KRON 4's Dan Kerman. He's cruising around in that traffic. He left the city about an hour ago. The financial district made it across the Bay Bridge. And wow, Dan, it looks like it's wide open.
It is really wide open. We're on 680 South now, passing through Danville on the way to San Ramon and ultimately on the way to Dublin. The good news has been that this terrible downpour we were expecting during the afternoon commute has not shown up. We've had some light drizzle, and that's been good. Most of the commute, it took 10 minutes to get across the Bay Bridge, and then traffic really started picking up once we approached the Caldecott Tunnel, continued on 24 through the Caldecott Tunnel. Right now we're averaging at 55 miles an hour as we head down 680 South. So far there's pretty good news with the commute, especially for people who are expecting the worst. They are not finding it tonight. There's also, general thought that many people decided either not to go to work today or decided to leave work early. That could be a reason for maybe a lighter than normal commute. But again, I think the real reason things are moving along pretty well is that the torrential downpour we were expecting during the afternoon commute just hasn't shown up.
And you must be surprised. Certainly we are back here in the studio looking at traffic move along so well at this hour of the evening commute.
Absolutely. Again, and I think, it's a combination of things, a combination of fewer people on the road. Maybe they got out early or didn't come to work at all. And a combination of the rain. I mean, we've had only light sprinkles, maybe a light drizzle. That's all we've had. We left the offices at KRON at 4:45 this afternoon and have only seen a light drizzle the entire time we've been getting to the Bay Bridge, across the Bay Bridge, down 24 through the Caldecott Tunnel, and then coming back down 680 South. So all in all, pretty good so far.
Well, let's hope it stays that way the rest of the night. We know another big batch of wet weather is going to be here in less than 2 hours or so. So we'll keep checking in with you, Dan. Thank you very much for that live report on 680.
Well, in the East Bay, if today is a sign of the things to come, it will be a busy week for the work crews who are cleaning up from storm damage. KRON 4's Philippe Jagal reports from Contra Costa County, where strong winds and rain keeps trees falling down.
Approaching the Caldecott Tunnel, the dry freeway quickly became drenched late morning, with puddles building up on side roads near storm drains where sandbags provided a little protection. In Contra Costa County, free sandbag stations are available in 6 different cities, including Martinez outside the Department of Public Works on Waterbird Way. On Withers Avenue near Pleasant Hill Road in Lafayette, the Contra Costa County Public Works Department was busy cleaning up a downed valley oak tree.
I just ran outside to make make sure that a truck hadn't hit the house or something.
The more than 100-year-old tree fell from Victoria Warehand's yard just after 9 o'clock in the morning, but with a stroke of good luck, no property was damaged, no people or cars hit.
When you have oaks, you're always prepared. That's why we always like pruning them back to make sure. About 5 years ago, we pruned it so, because it's an old tree, that if it did fall, it wouldn't hit power lines, and that worked. It didn't hit any power lines.
The Department of Public Works spent several hours cleaning up. Just one of many weather-related incidents spokesperson Steve Padilla says he expects crews to respond to in the coming days.
If your house is behind a creek or in front of a creek, take a look, make sure, remove the debris, and just keep a monitor on it.
Padilla says his crews are prepared for a tough stretch and that teams are on standby 24 hours, 7 days a week. In Contra Costa County, Philippe Jagal, KRON 4 News.
You might have felt it. A 3.4 magnitude earthquake in Oakland woke up a lot of people around the Bay Area this morning. The quake was first reported as a 3.7, but it was later downgraded. There were two aftershocks. One was a 1.9 and then a 2.0, both less than 2 miles from the original epicenter, which was just north of Piedmont Avenue in Oakland. BART had delays of about 20 minutes this morning while workers inspected the tracks. No damage was found.
A firefighter was among those injured this morning after a 2-alarm fire affected 2 homes in San Francisco. It happened at 70 and 72 Leeburg Street on the edge of the Outer Mission and just south of Interstate 280. 6 people, including the firefighter, were taken to the hospital. 2 of them are in critical condition this evening. The firefighter and 1 child sustained minor injuries. It took 72 firefighters to bring the blaze under control by about 1:45 this morning. 17 people were displaced by the fire. The cause is under investigation.
Coming up tonight at 6, Louis C.K., a high-profile and now very controversial comedian. And tonight, some of his behavior and his jokes are center stage for a San Jose protest outside of his performance later on tonight. We'll have details ahead.
Also, forgiveness is the newest mantra from library systems around the Bay Area, and now another county is considering doing away with late fees. We'll tell you where and what that means ahead.
And next, always hit hard in this kind of stormy weather, we're going to take you to the Santa Cruz Mountains, where there's been some big trouble tonight on Highway 17.
And the worst of our atmospheric river is right around the corner, inching its way closer to the Bay Area. I'm tracking it all here from the KRON 4 Weather Center.
Our big story, of course, the storm. Let's take another look at Storm Tracker for radar, where we can see where the storm is hitting the Bay Area, and yellow indicates heavy rain. So most of the area is covered in green, which shows there's rain just about everywhere. But the yellow areas, that's where the rain is the heaviest. In fact, a mudslide snarled traffic on southbound Highway 17 in the Santa Cruz Mountains, though there are no reports of injuries there.
Efforts are underway right now to clear that area out. In the meantime, it's been a rough commute. As KRON 4's Rob Plattebo reports from Los Gatos.
Hard to believe this video was shot about 2 o'clock this afternoon. As if the heavy rain wasn't enough to make for difficult driving, visibility over the summit was next to nothing. Lights and wipers are on, of course, but there's a lot of ponding on the road that can catch you by surprise. Yes, the pavement is very, very wet and slippery. The CHP has been busy tending to several mostly minor accidents, fender benders and spin-outs. This driver spun out, hit some debris, and then blew 2 tires.
This car doesn't have a turning radius like at all, so I tried to do a turn in the rain and ended up in the road. On the side right there, and I broke 2 tires and I only got 1 spare. So now.
So describe what it's like driving 17 today.
Awful. Awful. Terrifying.
In nearby Los Gatos, the lunch crowd was caught unawares as light rain turned to showers and then grew heavier still as the afternoon wore on. Farther up the mountain, the rain has been heavy indeed, with as much as 6 to 8 inches expected at the higher elevations of the mountains. There will be plenty of runoff into Lexington and other area reservoirs as well, which right now are collectively about half full. In the Santa Cruz Mountains, Rob Plattebo, KRON 4 News.
We have an update now on that situation on Highway 17 tonight. Here's a picture from the CHP's Santa Cruz office. Mudslides closed both southbound lanes earlier tonight. Of course, that's the commute direction from San Jose into Santa Cruz. Cruz. One lane was opened, then closed, and then reopened, and then closed again while equipment cleared the other lane. At last check, one lane is open and the other lane is closed on southbound Highway 17 right now, so it could be slow going. Time now for the weather in Pacifica. Let's show you what it looked like out there today. High winds, high surf, trees blowing, basically a mess. Things flying around in not just Pacifica, but all over the Bay Area. We see it here in San Francisco. I saw it in the North Bay today. I'm sure, Pam, you saw it in the East Bay.
Yes, we did. A lot of rain. Let's look outside right now and see how things are shaping up. This is San Francisco's Embarcadero, calming down just a little bit at this hour.
All right, Mabrisa Rodriguez here to give us the very latest. That system now is like starting to hit San Francisco. Looks like the whole west coast of Marin County is getting it right now.
Yeah, and also the bulk of the North Bay as well. Starting to notice some light to moderate downpours out there this evening. So this is our second round of wet weather from that same Pineapple Express, tapping into that plume of moisture out in the Pacific, with also lightning strikes as well right over the water. So I am tracking right now Storm Tracker 4. As you could see, pretty widespread rainfall, but moderate heavier downpours for those of you in the North Bay out there this evening. Storm Tracker 4 right now, as we zoom on in into the North Bay, you could see Santa Rosa and Petaluma right now getting the heaviest rainfall. Earlier, you did see rain rates upwards about 1/3 of an inch per hour, and there was a flash flood warning in effect. That has since expired, but there is a widespread flood advisory for all of the Bay Area because of all this wet weather, and also starting to notice some widespread rain for those of you in the South Bay, and it is becoming more widespread throughout the bulk of the Bay Area. So Futurecast is going to show the heaviest rain still to come. In fact, by around 7 o'clock this evening, that's when the Bay Area will notice some pretty heavy downpours. In addition to that, gusty wind speeds, possible pop-up thunderstorms that could bring us hail as well. By around 9 o'clock, drying out for that North Bay part, but then for the rest of the Bay Area, still tracking some light to moderate and heavy rain until we all start to dry out from that wet weather shortly before midnight. But still, make sure to keep your umbrella on you, because there are going to be some on again, off again, light scattered hit or miss showers throughout your Thursday, which could still bring us some pop-up thunderstorms as well throughout the day and even into your early evening hours, but nowhere near as bad as what we're experiencing right now. So rain totals in the valleys 1 to 3 inches, mountains upwards of 6 inches, and gusty wind speeds as well. In fact, San Francisco International Airport saw wind gusts upwards of 61 miles per hour just an hour ago. Sustained wind speeds in that 20 to 30 mile per hour range, and also widespread coastal flooding and flood advisories in effect for the Bay Area. Ken and Pam, back to you.
Mabrisa, more from you later. Thank you. Happening tonight, protests expected outside of a sold-out Louis C.K. show in San Jose. Last November, the comedian admitted to sexually harassing women, including masturbating in front of women without their consent. He was also criticized recently for one of his newer jokes aimed at the survivors of the mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. Tonight's show at the San Jose Improv is one of 3 sold-out shows featuring Louis C.K. A protest led by the Enough is Enough Political Action Committee is scheduled for 7:30 tonight outside of the club. Improv comedy clubs gave us a statement about all of this. It says, "We see comedy as the final frontier, and we don't censor artists. We want them to perform without scrutiny. We trust that our audiences can decide for themselves what their limits are. We understand that not everyone will agree with our decision, and we respect their right to protest. We also respect Louis C.K.'s right to perform." Crime 4 News talked with Michelle Dauber, who helped organize tonight's protest, about why it's being held.
We are not protesting Mr. CK because he is in poor taste or not funny. We're protesting him because he is a serial sexual harasser. We are not at all interested in protesting him for his comedy. We are protesting him for his conduct.
Dauber also pointed out that the next 6 months of shows are listed on the Improv Comedy Club's website, and there are no women among the headliners. Coming up tonight at 6:45, he had the courage to break barriers on an international stage and still be victorious. In our lead up to Black History Month, a look at the life of the renowned athlete Jesse Owens.
And next, PG&E may be filing for bankruptcy, but the power concerns during big storms like this one don't end because of the company's financial troubles. We'll show you where crews are out in the stormy weather dealing with power line problems.
And tonight's big story, we're looking at the storm. This is Storm Tracker 4 radar, where it's raining just about everywhere. We're tracking this big storm hitting the Bay Area right now. And checking our commute, our Dan Kerman is live tonight, traveling the roads through the East Bay in the rain. More after the break.
Our storm coverage continues tonight at 6:30. We're tracking the powerful storm hitting the Bay Area right now. We're already seeing flooding and downed trees in several areas. And the heavy rain mixed with powerful wind is also making for a dangerous commute out there tonight. We also want to mention that all lanes on Highway 17 through the Santa Cruz Mountains are open, so you can get through. But San Bruno Police just tweeted out that Skyline Boulevard, that's Highway 35, is closed north and southbound, both directions between Manor Drive and Sharp Park Road due to downed trees and branches. So again, Skyline Boulevard in the San Bruno area, Highway 35 is closed.
And this look at the live radar, Storm Tracker 4 shows just how the whole Bay Area is affected by the rain. Some spots obviously much heavier than others. Let's check in with our meteorologist who's standing by with all the specific details for us, Mabrisa Rodriguez. Mabrisa.
Good evening, Ken and Pam. Let's take a look at Storm Tracker 4 and zoom on in your neighborhood so you can see how heavily it's raining in your area. Noticing some moderate rain starting to make its way onshore throughout the San Francisco Peninsula, but noticeably drier for those of you in the South Bay, specifically in San Jose. Starting to notice some more moisture for those of you in the East Bay, but light rain at best. But then those of you in the North Bay, light to moderate and widespread heavy downpours. Right now, you're getting the bulk of that precipitation from this Pineapple Express that is making its way through the Bay Area. The last round will make its way out of our area by around midnight tonight. Golden Gate Bridge, as you can see, the road's very slick, dangerous commute. Stay at home. Do not go outside unless you absolutely need to do so. Temperatures right now, widespread 50s, and we're going to stay in the 50s even for our overnight hours. And because of this storm system, we are going to notice temperatures tomorrow in the 50s and low 60s once again. So very similar. And also there is going to be some dangerous waves right along the coast because of all that energy from our Pineapple Express. That will be in effect Thursday through Friday, and then drying out by Friday and Saturday until more wet weather arrives on Sunday. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Marisa. The president's State of the Union address is now in limbo because of the government shutdown.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the president should wait to do that address. The issue is security. Our Grant Lotus joins us now on what some analysts are describing as a political power play. Grant.
This is new. A lot of people talking about this one, Pam and Ken. Pelosi, of course, the Democrat from San Francisco, today suggesting President Trump postpone his scheduled State of the Union address until the government reopens, or he should present it in writing only. The U.S. Constitution requires the president brief Congress on the State of the Union, but there is nothing that says he has to do it in front of Congress. Pelosi essentially de-inviting Trump, not wanting him to be able to make his case for the border wall in front of the bipartisan legislative body during the primetime television address.
This is a very big deal. It is a special security event. And we've never really had a State of the Union when government has been in a shutdown since the Budget Act in the 70s. This is a housekeeping matter in the Congress of the United States so that we can honor the responsibility of the invitation we extended to the President. You can make it from the Oval Office if you want.
If you heard that, he said he can make the address from the Oval Office if he wants. While there is no precedent for this, Pelosi does have the power to stop the president from delivering the speech at the Capitol on the 29th of the month. Now, both chambers of Congress have to pass resolutions to actually green light the annual address. Usually that's simply a formality, but this year, with the shutdown, neither the House nor the Senate has done so yet, and the Speaker, Pelosi, controls whether or not the House passes a resolution at all. So we shall see. What comes of this? Pam and Ken, back to you.
All right, Grant, thank you. A San Francisco institution is stepping up to the plate, offering free meals to furloughed federal employees during this government shutdown. Lefty O'Doul's is offering workers and their families free all-they-can-eat lunch and dinner buffets every day until the shutdown ends. Lefty's, you might remember, recently relocated from its longtime Union Square location to Fisherman's Wharf. Owner Nick Bovis issued a statement. Lefty's cannot stop the madness, but we sure can feed our friends and neighbors for the duration. Lefty says the meals are on the honor system. All the workers need to do is show their federal ID to get a free meal.
The San Francisco Library Commission may follow in the footsteps of other Bay Area counties and eliminate fines for overdue books. Contra Costa and San Mateo counties have already done away with the penalties. Tomorrow, the San Francisco Library will propose doing the same. A study conducted by the library found that doing away with late fees does not lead to an increase in late returns or a decrease in circulation. Library fines are responsible for only 2%. Actually, that's only 0.2% of the library's annual budget, and the fines disproportionately affect people in low-income areas.
Time now for Cron 4 Sports, brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Simply the best place to buy a mattress.
Well, it seems the Warriors are in that sweet spot where we like them to be.
Yeah, they were taking on the #1 team in the West, and it was a piece of cake.
Piece of cake. A busy week for the Warriors, Kate, because they play again tonight. Boogie comes back on Friday, but hey, what happened last night? Remarkable what unfolded. The Warriors erasing any talk. They aren't the same team as in years past, sending a message that the West still runs through them. What an outing in Denver. Golden State setting all kinds of records. 51 points in the first quarter, best in NBA history. 10 threes in the opening stanza, a franchise mark. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson had a combined 83 points entering the third quarter, which was the same as Denver's entire roster. Thompson also had a personal record, 4 dunks in this showdown, which helps him in his friendly contest with former Warrior Zaza Pachulia.
He was excited. He was raising the roof on his 4th dunk, and I'm pretty sure he's texted Zaza already in there. I don't know if they have another bet this year. Probably.
I know how excited he gets when he has a couple of them, and tonight with 4 of them was pretty crazy. So I'm sure he's already called Zaza Pachulia.
You have 1 dunk. I have 11 this year. Pay me. Next question.
Literally texting while talking. Very nice. Very cool. Warriors Pelicans tonight. We'll have the highlights. Turning now to the NFL, the countdown to Championship Sunday continues, and the Patriots have achieved probably their greatest feat in the last decade, convincing themselves they are the little engine that could. The 5-time champs and perennial power in the AFC set to visit the Chiefs in Arrowhead this Sunday. Kansas City, a 3-point favorite. They're hosting the first time that's happened since week 2 of the 2015 season. Brady, the San Mateo native, on if that serves as extra motivation.
If you're not motivated this week, you got a major problem. I mean, this is the week where, you know, you shouldn't have to put any extra in. This is what it's all about. You sign up any chance you get to play an AFC Championship game. So I don't care where, when, time, cold, weather, rain, blood, don't matter.
So it'd be cool to see how the underdog Pats fare against such adversity. Brady's not the only quarterback with Bay Area roots playing this championship Sunday. Nevada's own former Cal star Jared Goff leading his Rams into the NFC title game. LA visiting the top seed Saints. The two have already met in a shootout earlier this season. Goff coming off his first career playoff victory. Talking about his confidence level entering the task at hand.
Just going to approach it like any other game. Obviously there's a lot on the line going to the Super Bowl and everything like that, but got to approach it the same way, and you got to treat every game the same way, and throughout the week be the same guy and prepare the same way you have. I think I rely on a lot of the successes I've had and understand that I didn't do that on accident. It's part of my process and part of what I do routinely.
Ken, Pam, this weekend should be fun. But how's Klay Thompson, huh? Texting? Well, very cool.
Confidence.
Multitasking.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Coming up next, Coast Guard families with no paychecks trying to stretch their dollars during the government shutdown. We're going to take you to a food drive trying to give them some support. For the last 3 weeks, the U.S. Coast Guard has been the only branch of the military to remain 100% operational without receiving any paychecks during this partial government shutdown. A Monterey dive shop just down the road from the Coast Guard station there decided to start a food drive to help out. Reporter Drew Andre has more.
Before opening up a dive shop, Chris Eubanks served 4 years in the United States Coast Guard. So more than most, he's sympathetic for Coast Guard members during this shutdown.
A lot of the people that are in the Coast Guard are younger people. And so having a lot of funds when you're young, that doesn't happen very much. At least it didn't happen when I was in the Coast Guard. So what little bit we can give, let's reach out there and let's give it to them.
So Chris and Erin Eubanks decided to start a food drive.
As being part of a Coast Guard family, this is the least we can do.
And that's the attitude of other donors we talked to, like Bart Bruno, who served in the Coast Guard 60 years ago.
No, we know it's important, and we're there to help. We're behind you.
In just a few days, Out to Sea has received about 300 items of non-perishable food and have already taken a full cart over to the Coast Guard station. We caught up with another person stopping by to donate today who says dropping off some cereal, soup, and oatmeal is the least she can do.
We need the protection. If this is what our government is doing, then we as a community should do whatever we can to support our local boys and girls.
You know, they do a lot for us, and so this is the least we can say to say thank you.
That was Drew Andre reporting. The group will be taking non-perishable food donations for the remainder of the government shutdown.
Coming up next, heavy rain means heavy snow in the Sierra. Look at this. We'll take a look at the risky conditions and the warning from the CHP in a live interview with the latest details coming up.
And let's take a look outside at the storm tracker radar. You can see yellow now lighting up most of the North Bay and the peninsula. That means significant rain starting to come down. We're not out of the woods yet. Let's take a look at our commute camera tonight. A live picture from Oakland as Dan Kerman makes his way from Oakland back to San Francisco. Well, it looks like he's on the Bay Bridge right now. It's wet out there, but traffic is light. We want to check the commute again. This is a live picture as Dan Kerman approaches the toll plaza at the Bay Bridge, and traffic very light, but you can see the rain is coming down again. It was really pouring earlier this afternoon just before the commute started. And then it kind of backed off, and now the rain is back, and looks like Dan has fast track. He's just blowing right through and he is heading. Dan, I hope you do have fast track. We'll see you in the city pretty soon.
All right. In tonight's Hidden History, our Black History series, in the lead up to next month's celebration, we're going to take you to a property in Oakville, Alabama, that is the childhood home of one of the most famous athletes in the world. Jack Royer has the story.
He was born here. He picked cotton right here where we're standing.
This land looks a lot different than it did the last time Jesse Owens saw it himself. Long before the world-famous athlete heard a starter pistol, he spent 9 hard years living on this land in northwest Alabama.
Welcome to the Owens family home,
where a replica of his childhood home now reminds visitors that adversity never stopped Jesse Owens' will to win. The youngest of 10 children, many of them living together in a house like this, a replica on the family property.
They had a hard life here. Nothing come easy for him.
But winning would soon come easily for him after his family moved to Ohio, where his unheard of success at Ohio State University earned him a greater controversial opportunity.
By America's black streak Jesse Owens in the 100 meters. The world's most superb runner makes the others look as if they're walking.
In front of the world, Owens embarrassed Nazi Germany. Dedicated in 1996, the museum displays the history of Owens' life for all to see, attracting thousands of visitors every year, many not realizing he was born right here in Alabama.
People will argue with you about that, actually.
Jesse Owens would continue those impacts until his death in 1980. His birthplace perhaps hard to find, but it's also hard to forget, as the impact he had on the sporting world paved a way for today's athletes to succeed.
Well, the storm system creating the Bay Area rain, of course, bringing lots of snow to the Sierra. This is video from Highway 89 on the way to Kirkwood Mountain from South Lake Tahoe. The snow started falling yesterday, and there have been whiteout conditions, which of course are very dangerous. The Highway Patrol is telling people not to travel through the Sierra today or tomorrow until this major storm passes. They are expecting more blizzard conditions.
And joining us now on the phone from the CHP office in Truckee is Officer Pete Mann. Officer Mann, thanks for joining us. I'm looking at the traffic map. It looks like Highway 80, Interstate 80 from Immigrant Gap all the way through Donner Pass is really slow right now. What can you tell us about the conditions?
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me. And yeah, right now conditions are treacherous, to say the least. Winds are up, visibility is down, and it is a slow go if you're trying to make it over the hill.
With so much snow coming down so fast, the CHP or Caltrans, are they having trouble keeping up to keep the roads clear?
You know, honestly, Caltrans is doing an amazing job. They've got all their equipment out there, pushing snow, they're cutting snow things, they're doing everything they can. However, it just makes it insanely difficult. And as it gets harder and harder to see, that's when we're going to start looking at a possible closure of the highway.
Tell us how much snow has been falling. Is it snowing right now, and how much has fallen, say, since yesterday?
So it just kind of depends on what elevation you're at. You know, down at my house, which is right at 6,000 feet, we saw about 3 feet of snow. You start getting up a little bit higher, and that's where it's been snowing all day today, to where we've had a little rain in town, and things are looking good up there. And all I can say right now is the banks are getting real tall.
So, Officer Mann, let's give people the standard warnings and recommendations for those who are even thinking about traveling there in the next day or so. Chains, blankets, go down the list for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you are going to try and go up and over the summit, I'm hoping you absolutely have to. We would recommend that you hold off till Friday or even Saturday. But more importantly, if you're going to do it, get yourself ready for winter driving. If you've never put chains on before, practice once in your garage where it's nice and warm before you got to do it for real. Have blankets in your car, gloves, appropriate clothing. More importantly, have an extra set of clothing, blankets to lay down on, extra food, water. Make sure your cell phone's charged because they always seem to die when we need them the most. And more importantly, full tank of gas before you head over the hill.
Real quick, we're out of time. I wonder if we can go back. We have a live picture of Donner Summit. We haven't seen any traffic going over the summit, and there is snow on the freeway. Is the summit open? Oh, we see one car going on right now.
The summit is currently open. They have been kind of modulating traffic to help with some of the spinouts that we've been dealing with. So there have been some temporary holds kind of placed, and then we let traffic go and kind of space people out.
Officer Pete Mann, thank you as always for the advice. Let's hope people are listening. Thank you.
Still ahead on KRON 4 News at 6, new warnings tonight about warming oceans and melting sea ice. With each new report, the predicted results are more dire. What it all means next.
And our Dan Kerman now traveling the Bay Bridge heading toward San Francisco. This is a live picture from Dan's car. You can see the rain coming down a bit more than it was earlier, but still traffic moving along relatively well considering.
2018 was the hottest year on record for the Earth's oceans. That's according to a new study by a team of scientists. Record keeping for global ocean temperatures began back in 1958. Last year's high broke the previous record set in 2017. In fact, the top 5 years in terms of ocean heat have come in the last 5. The same group of researchers released a study last week showing that oceans are warming faster than previously thought. Warmer oceans cause problems, including rising sea levels, heavier rainfall, and more intense storms. The study was published today in the journal Advances in Atmospheric Sciences.
Here in the Bay Area, in case you were curious how zoo animals behave in the wind and the cold and the rain, well, the San Francisco Zoo tweeting out this video today of a hippo peeking out from the safety of the water. They say that while hippos, rhinos, and otters do not mind the rain, they make sure that all of the animals have access to warm and dry spaces in this stormy weather.
And speaking of stormy weather, one last look outside as Dan Kerman slowly makes his way into San Francisco. Traffic has picked up. It's backed up a little bit on the upper deck of the Bay Bridge, and the rain is coming down. So if you have plans to travel tonight, be extra careful out there.
Mabrisa is here to give us a final look as we head into the nighttime hours on what to expect.
Yeah, heavy rain already making its way along the San Francisco Peninsula. So this is going to be the peak of the rainfall, where we could see rain rates about 1/3 of an inch per hour. And also there is a flash flood warning in effect for parts of Sonoma County right along the creek in that area in Sonoma Creek. So just keep that in mind. Let's take a look at Storm Tracker 4, and you could see right now the bulk of the moisture over the North Bay and even along the San Francisco Peninsula. Starting to notice some of those pockets of really heavy downpours. That's why we're seeing widespread yellow and oranges lit up, but also right now starting to notice that moisture making its way into the South Bay as well. Futurecast is going to show that wet weather will be an issue for our storm system. This atmospheric river right now well underway right now, peaking, but by 9 o'clock we are going to notice calmer conditions for those of you in the North Bay, specifically along that northwest quadrant, starting to see drier weather by around 9 o'clock this evening. For the rest of the Bay Area, still tracking some light to moderate and heavy downpours until we all dry out shortly before midnight tonight. Some light scattered showers for your Thursday, but keep that umbrella on you because I am tracking pop-up thunderstorms as well, even for our Thursday.
All right, a busy next couple of days in your department.
I know, very busy, but worth it.
All right, thank you for being with us tonight.
We'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock.